So a couple of things we're covering off today. Firstly, we'll just kind of name them up front. The big three are what's the number one indicator of your net worth? So we'll be talking about that today, Trent. We're also going to talk about millionaire mindset, like how to have the mindset of a millionaire to attract and manifest wealth in your life. And then, some of the other things we're talking about is, having that mindset around double-digit returns. You could probably tell a story if you want to. I don't know if it's kind of, appropriate or not, but, you've worked with a lot of people and, over the 7 years that you and I have worked together, there's been a whole lot of people that have been presented with the opportunities to work with you and us. And for whatever reason, they just don't go ahead. And a lot of the time, it really comes down to their psychology. They don't believe it, all that sort of stuff. So we'll probably cover that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So it looks like we've got a few people on the call. So let's rock and roll. We want to be respectful to their time and ours. So firstly, Trent, quick market update. As always, what's going on in the world of finance, property, money, gold, whatever you want to talk about that's on topic at the moment?
Well, gold's gone down, which is interesting. I thought it would have gone the other way. So actually now is probably a good time to start looking at buying again. It's jumped down roughly about $70 an ounce, thereabouts. So it's in the sort of early 1900s. It might see late 1800s, but silver hasn't moved very far, which is interesting. So that's the first thing. Obviously, interest rates. We've mentioned this on multiple conversations. I don't expect them to go down. I think they're probably just going to continue to rise. I think we'll probably see somewhere between the vicinity of 7 to 7.5% per annum on your interest rates. That will be the retail rate. The wholesale rate will probably be sort of 5.5, somewhere around there. And otherwise, you just look at the different avenues. The US dollar's trending quite well, which is a bit of a surprise. Most of it's manipulated, so it's no real surprise there. But America's not doing too well. Otherwise, there's a whole ton of talk about recession and stuff over there, and certainly people I've been listening to and for a long period of time are saying it's a lot harder and stuff like that as well. So, the market overall is quite good. I mean, places in Australia, we've got, I think they announced 400 or 600,000 immigrants coming in, which is probably not great, but for the long term. But that will continue to push people out of capital cities like Sydney and Melbourne, and I think Queensland had some stupid number that came up here over the course of the last year or two. So that trend will probably continue. We are going to expect a dip at some point in time. It'll happen before the Olympics, and then it'll start to recover again after that. But yeah, look, everything's otherwise is just tracking along quite nicely. We're seeing, on our end, a lot of deals come up, which is great. So we can choose what we want.
Excellent. And I know from my perspective as well, like I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of business owners, in my line of work. And, what's really interesting is that some people, will reach out to me almost in desperation, because they think the sky's falling in. And yet other business owners who are in this same industry, and I won't mention them in case they're watching this video, but they're in the same industry. And it's like, they're confident, they're maintaining their ad budget, they're still, getting the leads, they're still converting sales. So it's really interesting how that, how two similar companies or businesses or brands can be competing for the same prospects, and yet one's freezing up and pulling back on all their marketing and their activities because they think the sky's falling in, and the other is just going ahead leaps and bounds regardless, right?
That's mentality.
Same economy. Yeah. Same economy, right?
Mental mindset. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can choose to participate and be part of the downturn, or you can choose not to participate and continue.
Yeah, that's really good. And I know in the last global financial crisis, when was that? Was that 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that have listened to my podcast, like we had a swim school back then and a gym as well. So we were dealing with 1,500 clients and about 25 staff. And, when the global financial crisis hit, we didn't really have a crisis before that. So it was a lot bigger. There was no kind of, pandemic or anything kind of going on. So when it happened, it was like pretty big. And, people, again, they thought the sky was falling in. A lot of the staff were panicking. They thought they were going to lose their jobs. And I literally just sat everyone down one day and I just said to them, hey, look, we're not playing this global financial crisis game. We're not interested in it. We're going to keep moving along. We're going to do more marketing, more emails, more web stuff. And true to form, we had our best year that year in the middle of a global financial crisis, running the swim school and the gym.
Absolutely, and you always make your most money when things are down because you can pick things up for cents on the dollar. If you buy a property,
so true.
For example, that was $500,000, you might pay 250 grand for it. In the States, they got slaughtered. The things that were 100 grand were 10. So, it's where Kiyosaki always goes on about, I can buy 10 times what I originally had and just wait.
Yeah.
And that's the position of having that mental mindset and being in the right mindset of that, because whatever is an issue or a problem or whatever it is at the time, there's always a solution. You just got to look for it.
Yeah. And that solution, I guess that leads us to our first bullet point that we shared with everyone. And that is, how do you think out of the box? Like, what do you do to think outside the box when, maybe the market you think or wrongly think that, might not present itself favorable. Whereas you just said, the likes of Kiyosaki, it's time to go power shopping. So,
Absolutely.
if you were going power shopping, if you were looking at things like that, like what are some of the out of the box things that people should be looking at?
Mate, there's a whole range of different things. I find, being in the real estate game, it's sort of the heavens open up because you can get deals that you would never get before, not only on a price point, you can negotiate with funders a lot easier, you can get vendor finance, there's all these things that you can do that, where you're putting limited cash in to get a result. So we just did it on a deal recently, that was received a sale, and we pretty much didn't have to put much money into it for what it's going to produce. So, that's where you got to look at different avenues. As I said before, there's always a solution. People, it's tried and tested for years, and we're talking going back to the ages. So, there's always a solution to what you're looking at. It's just how you look at things, and having the ability to push forward when things are pulling back or going against the grain, for instance sake, is a key attribute to any successful person. You won't see Warren Buffett going with the masses. He'll be in the opposite direction.
Yeah. One of my, mentors, I guess you could say, was Brian Tracy. And I think it was Brian Tracy that said when he was much younger and, he's on his motivational speaking circuits and stuff, he used to say when others zig, you should zag. And he basically
100%.
meant just do the opposite to everyone else if you want to be successful, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to be successful in building wealth, well, then you just follow what everyone else is doing, right?
Get off financial planner.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things that I've always carried with me is like, when the herd's zigging, you want to be zagging, go
Absolutely.
off in the opposite direction of what everyone else is doing, and you'll
Yeah.
probably, end up well.
And my wife and I have always been that way. We've always gone the opposite direction to what the status quo would want to go in.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
it's hard, don't get me wrong. At times it is difficult. But 99% of the time it pays out.
Yeah.
And pays off for good.
Yeah. Excellent. And in your experience, like when you kind of, position yourself to do the opposite, you just said it's hard because a lot of people think, oh, look, I'll wait till it gets easier, right? But if it's easy, everyone would do it, right?
Correct.
So when you find something and you think it's a little bit hard, what do you recommend to people? Like, how do they get their mind around, doing deals and getting involved in things without kind of, doing so much due diligence that their due diligence stops them from making money?
Look, it's like anything. If you want to become a bodybuilder, for instance sake, you got to go way over and above what you would normally think. is possible, and that's what I meant by hard. There's a difference of it. Like anything, mate, there's always a solution to it. It's just a matter of stepping back and looking for it and asking around and doing the bits and pieces for it. Anything is possible. It's how things are invented. For example, if Nikolai Tesla gave up, we wouldn't have all the stuff that he produced. Same too with Einstein and all those type of guys. They push the boundaries. We still push the boundaries as human beings every single day. And I listened to an interesting thing the other day, which was what's on the other side of fear? Nothing. We all have this fear of going the opposite direction or doing something that's abnormal or doing something that's out of our comfort zone. Jumping off a building, space jumping, skydiving, you might be scared of heights, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, generally speaking, nothing happens. You get through that, you push through that barrier and you go, oh, okay, I'm here. Great. What do I do next?
Yeah.
And it's a key attribute to have that mindset, and specifically the focus, perseverance, and persistence. Three key words just there to achieve what you want to achieve. If you're out to design, a hydrogen engine for the sake of the answer, which I think's the way it's going to go, then
Yeah,
you've
I
got to
do
push
too.
boundaries for
Yeah.
that to happen. It's the same too with a Tesla car. Everyone said it couldn't be done. Guess what? Some people are driving Tesla cars. That boundary will always be there, and that boundary will always be pushed through. It's all up in the head as to how hard you want to go or how far you want to take it. And there's a great analogy of that in Think and Grow Rich, is giving up when you're 3 feet from gold.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you
good.
know and that comes back to perseverance and persistence. You never give up. You keep moving forward at all times.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think it was Tony Robbins that coined the phrase fear, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah,
So, it's made up, fear's made up. The fear of, losing money, the fear of making the wrong
absolutely.
decision, the fear of, investing in yourself to get ahead. It's all false evidence that you've told yourself stories about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of business people who are really gung-ho in making money and shooting for a goal, they get there and then try to protect it and end up losing it because of
Yeah.
that mindset. Is because of that fear mindset, loss, don't want to do this. Guess what? If I lost everything today, I'd start tomorrow and go again.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's really
But
good.
some people don't want to even be on the starting blocks, and that's sort of a key differentiator between going with the norm or being in the game. There's a lot less competition at the top, because a lot less people want to push through that barrier.
Excellent. And it's not only pushing through the barrier, but I guess that, to even get to that barrier, you've got to have some goals, right? Like I come
Absolutely.
from a
Yeah.
professional sporting background world, and the athletes that I've seen that win gold medals and break records and win national titles and international titles, that they are the ones that had their goals firmly cemented in their mind every day. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I came across about a week ago, which I thought was quite unique. I've always been a big believer in writing down your goals, and I know you are too, and I'll get you to share that in a minute. But this one speaker was talking about the 369 strategy. And so,
Yeah.
what it was, in the morning, you write down your goals 3 times and read them. And then in the afternoon, like around lunchtime, you write the same goals down again 6 times. And
Come
then
on.
at night time, before you go to bed, just before you go into that subconscious state, you write them down 9 times. So it's 3 in the morning, 6 in the day, and 9 at night time. And it's just a really good way to condition yourself for success. And of course, write them in present tense as if you've already achieved them, right?
Absolutely.
Not as something you want to do, right? But in actual fact of where you are should be right now.
Interesting, the number 3, 6, and 9, because that's
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla's universal code, or you,
Oh,
or
is
the
it?
yeah, it's the universe code. Basically, everything in life is a 3, 6, and a 9.
Oh, there you
And how
go.
it all, yeah, it's pretty cool to go into that stuff. Real
Yeah.
esoteric, but it is cool.
Yeah. So there you go. So it's almost like a cheat code, right?
Yeah,
Three, six,
yeah,
nine. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's good.
All of his formulas were based around 3, 6, and 9,
Yeah,
and
excellent.
it's the perfect pyramid. That's what it all
Yeah,
comes back down to.
excellent. Now I know for you, you obviously set goals like myself, and
Yep.
you're big on mantras. I know you did a recording for us on one of our Instagram reels and
Yep.
TikTok reels about mantras. So do you want to share with the folks, like, why do mantras? How do they work? That sort of thing. When you want to build wealth, because you're not just, let's face it, you're not just going to wake up tomorrow and be more wealthy. Like, it's a
Look on it.
process. You got to set
Yep.
some goals. You got to shift your mind, all that sort of stuff. So can you walk us through? Can you kind of expand on that little reel that you did?
Yeah, so a mantra is in Sanskrit is stands for mind freeing or free the mind, depends on how you want to look at it. And basically, a mantra is a self belief pattern that you are saying to yourself. So, for instance, this will never happen, but I want to be 6'6". That's obviously not going to happen. It's, there's other things that you can do and say, and you always include obviously a family environment, your own health, well-being, love, all that sort of stuff. But then you do the same thing with your goals. So you have a set mantra, and again, just going back to Think and Grow Rich. You need to write something down that is your be all and end all goals. What are you going to give to achieve that goal? Because that's what it's all about. It's not just about I'm going to get hundreds of millions of dollars for doing nothing. That doesn't work that way. You have to give something for that to eventuate. So it's writing down things like, I'm going to give back to society. I'm going to do this or that, the other. Whatever your specific goal is, will be attached around that. And then you look at, as I said, more of a personal thing. What do you want personally? What do you want to give personally to life, to the world? What do you want to be remembered for? There's also talk about, you should write your eulogy, because a death mindset actually brings you back into the present day. So you're living in the now. So there's all these little tricks and hints that you can use via a mantra, and I've got 4 or 5 of them that I say daily. I go out for a walk, and very early in the morning, and run these through my head. Smile as I'm doing it, giving thanks for the day, all that sort of stuff. Thanks for my health. Thanks for what we've got. Family, all that sort of stuff, and then I focus on my goals last. And do that. So I was doing that 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. I don't necessarily need to do it that way anymore because it is deeply ingrained in my subconscious now. I still think about it, but it becomes habitual for me to do it in the morning, because
Yeah.
when I do that in the morning, I wake up better. I feel better. The energy flows through better, and it's a real key part to my life and our overall success and wealth, being my family and I's, not just me, and what we're going to do. And funnily enough, I've been asking for a while, to do something bigger and better than me, and how that can be. So about 2 years ago, and this is, I was only doing this for a short period of time before this became available. Christy, my wife, is phenomenal at this stuff. But what she asks for, she can see within a day or two. I'm not that fast, but I was asking about what we could do to help others. I've always wanted to help, specifically kids who have, been had some sort of illness, injury, whatever. I didn't really give it a name. I just said, what can I do to assist? Anyway, a couple of years back when I started this process, I had a lady reach out through one of my racing forums, of all things, and she was doing this thing for, it's called Bravery Buddies, which was basically, she makes little dolls, which represent the kids who are going through leukemia and stuff. Anyway, they were short on funds, and I gave them I gave them a little bit more than the funds. Mate, so grateful. It was unbelievable, to the point now where we're looking to sponsor her for the full 12 months, where she doesn't need any more sponsorship now. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram, and LinkedIn and stuff like that, and that filled my cup. And that's what it was all about at the end of the day, and why I'm going on about the story was all about refilling the cup in a different way, because you can have all the money in the world, it's not going to make you happy. What else can I do? And I can show my kids that we're doing this sort of stuff as well. And she actually just reached out to me yesterday, and thanking me and all that as well, because she's now at the point where she can go international with this, which is ultimately where I wanted to go. And she had leukemia to start with as well. So, but yeah, I've had, it's been amazing sort of the feedback that you get from those type of things. And it all stemmed back from a daily mantra, daily ritual.
Yeah, that's really good.
Hmm.
Now, we'll talk about mantras, goals. They all lead into your personal development and
Yep.
your own awareness and your own goals and helping you shift your own subconscious. But there's actually another indicator of, what your net worth is going to look like in the months and years ahead. And many people think that it's about picking the right stock or getting the right investment opportunity or, flipping more deals. But you and I have a different take on that, as many other leaders do. So can you share with folks, like, what do you think the number one indicator of your net worth is really?
Your network.
Your network, yeah.
People, the contacts that you got, all those type of things, the deals that can be done behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It all comes down to your network, your Rolodex, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. That's good.
The more you integrate with others, mingle with others, meet others, go to events, do all that sort of stuff, is always the case, and your network will grow really expansively if you use these two things and don't use this.
Yeah.
And just listen to people. People will tell you a whole host of stuff without you actually saying much.
Yeah, I read somewhere once, and I've always applied it to my line of work and coaching as well, is that you have two ears and one mouth, and you should use them in that ratio.
Yeah. Use them proportionately.
Yeah.
My
So
mother said that for years.
You should
2
listen
years,
as
1
twice
mouth.
as much as you talk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, if you're paying attention, you're attentive to someone, they'll just open up and you'll be the biggest, star known to man, just from you sitting there listening.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting. When you ask questions, people think that you're quite intelligent. And so a lot of people get it wrong when they start to network with people, and, maybe they're in a new network and, they're hanging around other like-minded people. They're out of the office now, out of their own business or whatever it is. And they'll kind of want to talk and get their point across and, and kind of have that verbal diarrhea where they're doing all the talking. But it's actually the person who's asking really good questions and who's curious about someone else's success that can build the rapport a lot faster with people and actually get the information that's going to obviously help them in the future as well.
And Daniel's just put in the comment, relationship and trust, and that's where it all stems from. You build from there.
Yeah.
That's how you build relationship and trust, is the doing, basically. I was listening to what's it called, Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and he always went in with the mentality, for instance sake, of asking really abnormal questions to really powerful people. So I think it was Barack Obama or someone like that. It was a friend of a friend that was having a baby, and he said, what's the first thing you do when you have what's the worst job when you've just had a kid? And he sort of laughed and chuckled, but then spent the next 5 minutes actually having a conversation with him and joking about it as well. And it's coming up with interesting little things and topics that you can push in, and again, just asking questions and educated questions around something different that they're not normally used to, that you'll get a unique answer.
Yeah, that's really good.
Hmm.
And what's your take on people that maybe look that they're a little bit stuck at the moment? Maybe they're stuck in their business, maybe they're stuck in their investment, maybe they've kind of, maybe they got $1 million they've been sitting on for the last 10 years, for whatever reason their net worth of $1 million hasn't changed for the last 10. What advice would you give those sorts of people?
If you're stuck, change the channel is what I often use. So, if you're having a bad day, change the channel.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just about this thing again and getting it into the right tune, and just taking a step forward or a step back. So if you're taking a step back, breathe, look at everything, and then assess, then move forward. you're taking a step forward just out of blind, which I often do. I'll do it out of blindness sometimes, just because it opens up a whole world of stuff that you just physically can't see because you've got your radars on. And again, a really good thing that I listened to a long, long time ago was, if you're looking at an 8-inch radar in a ship, you're only going to see what's on that 8-inch radar. You can't see what's beyond that. And a lot of people just get caught up in that sort of stuff is because they're just focused in on, a 10-inch screen in front of me, for instance, sake, versus, the beauty that sits behind it that I'm looking at behind that, where I'm looking all the way to Mount Coolum, for instance, sake, across the lake. So, it's about that perception and how to get out of that relatively quickly. Go for a walk, get into nature, do all that sort of stuff. With respect to funds and monies and all that, again, this just sort of goes back to people are scared of losing, and certain markets have gone backwards, specifically the car market at the minute. Things are moving so fast and all over the shop, no one really knows what to do, where it's going to go, how it's going to do things. But again, it's the same analogy. You've just got to take the step forward. There are things there that you can, grow exponentially really, really fast. I mean, we did a deal with one of our clients recently that, they're getting a 20% return in 4 months. Those deals are there. You just got to basically look for them and step outside of the screen or the radar or the box that you're on, and start looking around. Obviously, don't put all of it into one, but you'd start hedging your bets that way.
Yeah. And that's a really good analogy, because there's, a lot of people, again, they come out of the school system, I guess you could say, and maybe they'll learn about negative gearing or positive gearing or flipping. And, maybe that's kind of the only thing that they know of.
Yep.
And so when they hear things like, oh, you can make, 20 or 30% in 4 months, I guess to most people, it sounds unrealistic. However, in your world, and from what I've seen, working with you for 7 years, like, people are making that all day long, like with your help, right?
Absolutely.
And so what's the difference between someone that kind of goes, oh, you know what? Yeah, that looks like a great deal, I want to be a part of it. And then other people who procrastinate so much, even though they know that it's a great deal, or even though they have the funds, they just procrastinate over it so much that they actually miss out.
It all stems back down to the same thing, which is mindset.
Yeah.
It's you need to have that belief and trust. And look, I know you've got, people get advice from other people, but you always look at where you're getting the advice from and why. So, for instance, like if you're looking at, I'll use my litigation lawyer. If he's looking at me doing a certain thing, well, he's going to be absolute worst case scenario. That's the way he operates. Whereas I'm absolute best case scenario. So there's got to be some intermediary decision there that you need to be able to be comfortable with to take. A lot of people, again, just using the fear analogy, people get fearful of, losing. I don't look at losing as a fear-based thing, because I get a tax advantage from it. So
Yeah.
it's always how you look at different things. And just going back to what you were saying a second ago, I met this, I was out in the Gold Coast a few weeks back with my best mate and met this 22-year-old. It was her birthday. Anyway, we got chatting just on, general stuff. And it was probably the best conversation I've had with a person for a long, long period of time. She was doing complex investments at 22, like stuff that I only learn about sort of at mid-30s.
Wow.
And I was questioning on her and just said, she was buying distressed mortgages and selling them on and doing stuff like that. And picking up an absolute mozza. She had I think she said she had $1.5 million or 2 million, and she was 22 just from doing this. Fair enough, her parents gave her the leg up to help. Like they started with 100 grand, but she's just been rotating that through. And she understands the process of it. And I found it really fascinating that someone so young that was doing that, because so many people at that age, me including, we're pissing money up the wall, left, right, and center, and on beer and everything else. But it was just interesting to see that different headspace of someone so young, because you don't see it that much anymore.
Yeah, that's really good. And I dare say that she's probably had a mentor or coach or someone that
Her
she's
parents,
learned that from, right? Someone showed her that
yeah.
system or
So
showed her how to do it, right?
her parents, I think her mum was an accountant and under an accounting practice, and her dad was in banking, commercial
Yeah,
banking. So you can see where it's come from. But yeah, it was a cool thing to listen to, and just and have a chat about that sort of thing at such a young age.
excellent. Very good. All right, now we're almost out of time, and we've got a couple of things to share with the folks that are on the call, and also the recording, which we'll put in the chat. But before we do that, does anyone that's on the live call have any questions for Trent or I about anything that we discussed today? Or maybe you've joined on a previous webinar, on one of our previous cash flow calls, and you wanted to ask a question. So now's the time before we start wrapping up. It's a good opportunity to kind of throw us something. You can either put your hand up and we can unmute you, or you can just type it in the chat on the right of your screen, depending on if you're on a desktop or laptop or whatever. No, looks like everyone's pretty cool today, Trent. No questions.
It'll pop up if it does.
Oh, looks like we've done a good job. So that's
Cool.
all good. Here we go. So one from Chris, where is property headed?
Great question. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a really wide open question, isn't it? Because there's property and then there's property, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Look, the residential market has obviously in certain areas gone backwards, and it will. Look, there is a huge downturn projection for 25, 26, which has always been on the cards. It's the normal 18.5-year cycle. That's just what it does. So that is coming. Everyone should, and we are preparing for all of that. But in saying that, a lot of the deals that are coming to, and because of all the COVID stuff and all the bits and pieces in between, there's a lot of deals where, and interest rates in particular, are really hurting people. So there are deals coming up that, as I said before, we just secured a receiver sale deal, which was $1 million under value. Real easy deal, DA, all the bits and pieces. It was right up our alley. We took it on. Distress sale will start to become more evident as it goes on, because people are at the brink of cash flow. You can only support it so far. Your credit card can only support so much. Either way, you're going to have to either get a huge pay increase, or alternatively really significantly increase your cash flow. And that happens by a range of ways. You can do another job, another business, or you can move your property from long-term lease to short-term lease. There's all these different ways you can do it, or you can sell it. That's the simple math of it all. What you don't want to do is get into a position where the bank takes it, because that's when people like myself jump in, is we're going and buying them off the banks at the minute and cleaning up from that perspective. All that said and done, as long as you've got good, stable tenants in play, whether it's commercial, residential, shopping centres, whatever, as long as you've got good, strong tenants in play, and your cash flow is pretty good, then you'll be fine. You just ride the wave as normal. If you are in a position where you lose, and you should always factor in a percentage of loss. So for instance, on my portfolio, I typically operate the portfolio at about 65%. So can I survive on 60%? 65%? I can actually survive on the portfolio at 30%. So if the market does crap itself, I can survive to that level. You want to be, most high net worth individuals have a loan to value ratio of circa around about 45 to 53%. So that's the long-term aim that you want to achieve, and be able to progress forward. So overseas markets are doing all sorts of things. They're all over the shop. So each market will do their own thing over time, and it's just a matter of time before we do hit some sort of precipice where the market does implode a little bit, and you work through it.
Excellent. Thanks for that question, Chris. That was very good. And Daniel's just got a comment here. All good. I'm confident with you guys. Patience is the key for great results. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Daniel.
Yeah, 100%. Because things change. Things are always moving and changing, and you have to be able to, duck and move with those changes. It's just what happens.
Yeah, that's a really good point because the markets are never going to be the same, are they? Like they could be very similar for 6 months, and then they'll go up or down or sideways. They're
Yep.
only going to ever do one of three things, aren't they?
Correct.
Up, down, or stay the same for a little while.
Yep.
Even then, it's still up or down again.
Yeah, I mean, we sold our house at the absolute peak of the market, like within days, and the market then went backwards $500,000.
Yeah.
It's just it did that. We knew it was going to do that because it was a timing thing. But that whole COVID, in cars and parts and somewhat housing and all that overinflation is gone because interest rates are really starting to ramp up and curb that back to normal. What I would perceive normal rates at 7.5 is a normal rate in my eyes.
Yeah, and
And
you've
it's
been
only
in the
at 5.
finance. Yeah, and you've been in the finance game for like most of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Will we see 18, 19% like late 80s? No, I don't think we will. But we will definitely see 7.5. I would put my entire net worth on it that we'll see those rates.
Yeah. So Daniel's got one here. So to sit on your hands and do nothing, you'll get nothing. Yeah, that's so true.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And it's like a business. If you're waiting for clients to come to you and you're not doing anything about it, you'll be bankrupt before you know it.
Yeah.
Inflation alone will kill you. And that's the key part.
And that was like the story I shared at the start of the call. Two people, same industries, one's pushing forward, one's pulling back. I can guarantee the one that's going to pull back, they're going to run out of money, right? Because they're just going from bad to worse, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, or they'll try and sell to their existing clients with discounted products that, they don't make any money on. It just keeps the doors open. So it doesn't work that way, as you know. You've always got to be pressing forward and challenge the status quo. That's one thing that lives in my mind all the time. How can I challenge the status quo?
Yeah, that's really good. So Chris has got here, if you don't invest, you will die poor. That's putting it bluntly, but that's true. Nice one, Chris. That's good.
And money's a tool. You've got to use it use it appropriately.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, well, we're coming up to 40 minutes. This is your last chance to ask a couple of questions, folks. So if you want to do that, feel free. As I said, if you're watching the recording, you can also pop a question in the chat area, and it actually gets emailed to us. So feel free to do that as well. But before we go, we want to share something with you. We've got a link that we're going to put in the chat if you want to have a look at that. I'll also do a screen share real quick. Let me see if I can work this out. So can you see my screen there, Trent?
No. Yes.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. So this is our website, cobocorp.site, if you want to check it out, and we've got a join page as well. So if you want to work more closely with Trent and myself and Cobalt Corp, we've got a few different ways that you can do that. So 3 ways to build wealth. So we'll start off with the first one on the left here, and that's the Wealth Academy that we've launched. It's $997 a month. And what it is, it's a network, right? It's an environment where you can come and network with other like-minded people, get education and information and insights from Trent and myself, but also from other experts that we bring to those events. So Trent's well connected with people, as am I. And so we'll bring a whole host of people to come and speak to our folks in the Wealth Academy, and help them with their businesses, help them with their cash flow, help them with their investments, and generally just help them build wealth and generate their income. And then we provide a monthly training. So unlike what we're doing here, we're just having a light banter, more of a podcast type interview. It'll be specific training on accelerating, your wealth through things like real estate, gold, crypto, Web3, blockchain, affiliate marketing, e-com, and business. And you'll also get lifetime access to our members portal, which is Success Resources, that has over 200 hours of lessons on wealth creation, real estate, business, marketing, and more. And so that's $997 a month. If you want to jump on board and be a part of that, all you need to do is just click that button there. It'll open in a new tab. The order forms come up there. You can join with a credit card today. When that comes through, we'll see it from our end as well, and then we'll get you on board and we'll have one of the team reach out to you. The next one is King's Club. The King's Club includes everything that Wealth Academy gets. So if you're a King's Club member, you'll get all of these things that are part of Wealth Academy. So you're automatically put into the Wealth Academy. However, you get additional accountability calls from Trent and I to keep your financial mindset and money goals on track. So these are like an open office call. So this is where you would bring your deals to the table and you'd say, hey, Trent, hey, Cam, what do you think of this? I'm thinking of doing this in property. I'm thinking of doing this in business. I have a business. I want to do this in my business. What do you reckon? And so we provide accountability and insights personally for you on those calls, so you can bring your goals, your plans, your deals that you're working on. And you also, as a King's Club member, you also get access to our Rolodex of industry connections. So whether that be people that are involved in finance, law firms that specifically deal with commercial projects like Trent was talking about, legal structures, business or marketing, you want to be in touch, you want to get in touch with the right people, to do some paid advertising, I can help you with that. So if you want any help at all building wealth, increasing cash flow, we can put you in touch with the right people. And then, of course, as part of our King's Club program, as has always been, you get access to the off-market deals. So it could be an off-market property project that Trent has come by his table. It could be a short-term funding deal. It could be a gold compounding platform, or it could be a Forex fixed income platform that we're working on at the moment as well. So all of these off-market projects and funding deals enable our King's Club members to get access to those sorts of deals that are not usually available to the general public. And so you've got to be in King's Club before you join a boardroom. So we won't cover that today, but please look at joining the Wealth Academy or the King's Club. And as I said, we've got that link there in the chat area there under cobaltcorp.site/join.
Excellent.
All right, so it looks like we've done a great job there. If anyone's got any questions about the Wealth Academy or joining King's Club, feel free to reach out to us. Just reply to one of our emails. We can talk further on that. If you want a one-on-one call, we can do that with you as well. But look, we're here to help you. We're looking for motivated people that want to, build wealth and accelerate their income and be part of a really cool group. So if that's you and you want to kind of go down that path, feel free to reach out or sign up today. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side.